Burgess here with Music Marketing TV, and today we are checking out FabFilter's Volcano 3, the upgrade to Volcano 2. Right off the bat, you can see we're in full screen mode. So let me give you a quick rundown out of all the new stuff, and then we're going to do a bunch of listening. So first new thing, visually, we've had a major upgrade, especially to the modulation. If you come down here to the modulation, there's a bunch of visual things that happen now. So for example, we could take an LFO and modulate something, but you can see visually here what it's doing. And you could of course take another source and modulate that first source to control how much that first source is allowed to do its job, and it's reflected here. And if we move this down and give it a little more range, you can see it sort of do its thing. So some very, very cool changes are possible modulation wise now. So that's the first big thing. The next big thing, of course, is the filters. You'll now notice there is a drive control that's linked to the filters, which allows you to get a little more oomph out of your filter. Along with two new filter types, we now have a notch filter and we have an all-pass filter. An all-pass filter will allow you to do some cool things with phase shifts, so it could be very useful for sound design. Now, after the two new filter types, we have a whole bunch of new filter characteristics, I guess is what I'd call them. They have terms for this. But anyways, these are the shapes, you know, like high pass, low pass, and these ones I would call like the characteristics of the filter. So they have like smooth, raw. There's quite a few new ones in here as well that give you a lot of control over the sound of that particular filter, especially when you do something at a very high Q value. So let's go ahead, let's do some listening now and dive into some of what's possible with Volcano 3. So first I'm going to bypass it and just let you hear the input that we're going to be using. It's this bass sound. That is the sound we're going to be using, and let's go ahead, let's turn this on. So a couple cool things. First, if we just go over through some of the presets, you have like your general, you know, filters, EQs, just general shaping type of things. And all of these, a lot of these are going to notice use envelope followers, and both typically separating sustains and transients so that you can react to it. And some people took this idea all the way and actually made some compressors out of this. So this, for example, is a compression preset, if that is something that piques your interest. Now, in the creative department, if we go over to special effects, there is some really crazy stuff going on in here, especially with the modulation that leads to some really cool audio effects. So these presets here actually trigger off of MIDI. I'm not going to be demonstrating them here, but there is a bunch of MIDI support. And this brings me to something I really want to mention now, because it is just completely mind-blowing that this is even possible. Everything's automatable. Now, I know when I say that, you're like, yeah, I mean, in most plugins, everything's automatable. No, in most plugins, normally there's some things you're not allowed to automate. For example, in a lot of plugins, you cannot automate the filter type. But in FabFilter, you totally can automate that. There's a slider connected in the parameters that you can get to, and you can just change the filter type. You can change if the filter is on or off, like if it even appears in the algorithm via automation. You can change, if you were to open up an LFO, for example, and bring these up, and you could automate the level of each individual step. Like everything is automatable to a pretty insane degree, like much higher than normal. So just be aware of that is a possibility here. So this opens up some abilities that you just simply can't do in other plugins when it comes to automation and just really generating some wild stuff. Now coming back over here, yeah, MIDI effects, they require an external signal in order to work. So I'm not going to be demonstrating them here, but if you have something like an external MIDI source that you'd like to trigger an envelope to behave a certain way, this could be a fantastic way to do that and treat this more as a part of a synthesizer as opposed to a mixing tool over the whole device. So you can sort of integrate it with your sound design a little bit more tightly. So with that being said, let's go through a few more presets. upcoming videos on this channel, we'll be breaking down specifically how to do some of these techniques. And yeah, give Volcano 3 a try today. You've seen some of what it has to offer now, a lot of the new updates and features. Hopefully you've got a good idea of what it brings to the table. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for future videos. And have a blessed day.